Good evening, everyone, and welcome back once again for another session here at IG8Live Esports. This evening, we're doing it a bit different with SLIPSTREAM Racing League. Instead of the usual 50% race with a full qualifying session, we switched it up a bit. It's going to be a short qualifying session, and then we go straight into a 100% race here at Portugal, and that's going to be for the Portuguese Grand Prix, the first everyone actually going to be having here, and going to be a bit of an interesting one. We got a full grid of 20 drivers on with it already, and I think it should be quite an interesting 66 laps around the track. Hopefully the guys have put enough practice in. I think we're starting to have some drivers head out on track here right about now, because remember they only have that 18 minutes to work with instead of qualifying 1, 2, and 3 to work themselves out. And looks like we're already getting some information about what the weather is going to be. Looks like it's going to be a wet to dry race, going to make it quite interesting as well. Let's get out on track with someone who is currently already, looks like Chris here already out on track, first out with the Aston Martin, getting on an outlap and going. So we'll see how interesting this is going to be as we get on through with the session itself. We're going to have a quick look at the constructor standings as we get on through here during the outlap, so the car is getting out in just a bit. Looks like Mercedes currently leading the Constructors' Championship for the season here, 159 points. We got Ferrari just there in second, 133 points. Not an extensive lead, but still something that could put Mercedes a bit further on out in front, depending on how this race actually goes for them. We got AlphaTauri in third, 105 points, a bit down from that. Now Williams there in fourth right now, 91 points at the moment, and we're a bit closer on with the gaps down in the middle of the list here for the constructors. We got Haas currently fifth, 86 points, so not too far off. Actually, it's about 5 points behind Williams so far. So they're doing pretty good actually, keeping up with them. We got McLaren currently 6, 81 points. Got Red Bull down about half of that there with 48 points in 7th. Alpine currently 8, 43 points, not too far off. Alfa Romeo in 9th, 39 points. And Aston Martin down at the bottom here, 31 points. So we got Chris here and his team will have to do something today to hopefully change the way the standings are running in that aspect there. It's not overly a long lap around the track. He'll have run a few laps here myself, so going to be very interesting to see how well these guys handle it on through, as they're now getting started on hot laps here as well. So let's switch this on through, have a look at what's happening on track. It's not going to be a lot of time here. We will have a look at the driver standings for the current championship for the season here as well, and just a bit maybe later on down in the race when we do have maybe a safety car or not, which we might actually be expecting to happen. Just depends on how much you actually put through the opening few laps of the race, and gonna get interesting into turn 1 as well. So let's see how that's gonna go. So waiting for some of these guys to get started on a lap here. I think we got quite a few on a hot lap right now, so we should see some pretty interesting laps get in. We do have Chris getting around sector 3 here right about now. Should be getting across the line in just a bit and start to see some lap times come on in. And let's see what the rest of the grid is going to stack up just behind him coming down as well. So it's a 118.7 for him so far. I think most of the drivers might be right around this range here, but let's just see how fast they're going to go. If we can get into the 117s or not, I'm not sure. There we go. We already quick stopped into the 117s. 117.6 from him. Getting a few more of those as well. Extremist goes second fastest, 117.679 so far, 500th of a second off. Cody with a 118.4. He's up into third. Chris down to fourth with that there. Let's see how well that holds off through as they all get around with this here. I think we're on with BP here. He's still getting on and outlap getting around. And I think this is going to be quite interesting if we're going to have a wet to dry race, which means we'll be starting off in the wet and the race will be drying out, the track will be drying out as we get further on into the race. Remember, this is going to be 66 laps here around the Portimao circuit, so it's going to be interesting to see how they manage their strategy in terms of the full 100% race as well, getting through this. Do expect to have some longer stints to be run on these tires here as well. Draft now getting fastest lap there at 117.608, just about 200th of a second faster than what Kristaps did. So he's on to provision a pole right about now. Got 12.5 minutes still left in the session here. Got Beefy getting a wrong sector 3, I think. Oh, and Kristaps gets back provisional pole, 117.5 now, a 10 faster. So they seem to have some interesting practice sessions going on the track. And let's have a look around the Portimao circuit here on board with Beefy in the Alpha Tour as he gets back onto the start finish straight. I'm going to head down straight into turn 1. We see what that run is like, and you're going a bit downhill, so they have to be careful on the braking zone getting through to this. And just watch if the track is any bit slippery as you get around here. I think that part was a bit flat or getting through. Can take some doing in terms of practice getting around there. And what's interesting about the track is the very quick elevation changes that you do have getting around from one turn to the next. Got Robbie now on provisional pole at 116.8 so far. Let's see how that's going to go for him. Let's take that off the screen. We can have a better look on what's happening on track. And now getting into sector 2. See how that's going. So far so good on the lap. Has not invalidated, so we'll give it a good point on that so far as he gets on through this lap. Hopefully he will be able to finish it all the way through. As you can see, some extreme elevation changes getting on through. Very difficult sometimes to see the next turn, because you're driving with the racing line off here on the track. So gonna be interesting to see how much practice they actually put together. So far so good in terms of the lap times and what we're seeing on track. We're not really seeing too many validated laps from what I know so far. He gets back onto the start finish straight over that bit of hill and across the line. And let's see where he went to that. That was P5 for him, 117.5 so far. Not too bad of a lap there. Puts him up in a pretty good starting position. Let's see how that's going to keep getting on through the rest of the lap. And going down to Mr. Ridge in the Red Bull, down at the back of the grid here. Let's see where he's on with this current lap here. Got Nick out there as well. Tyler out lap as well. Now wait to see what their lap times are going to look like. So far, provisional pole. We got Robbie on that at 116.8. A 10 down. Walker there in second, 116.9. We got Hayden currently third, 117.4. Kristaps in fourth, 117.5. Beefy in fifth, 117.5. 3.7. So literally just about a hundredth of a second. That's separates those two, and looking pretty interesting with the gaps that we have. I'll be honest, a bit surprising how close these gaps are. Usually a bit not as close in most of the other tracks we've had with them, but it's for a new track here on the game. It's quite impressive how much practice we've actually put in on the track since the track was added, actually, to get these lap times in and to get it that close off to each other as well. So just show a level of competitiveness that these guys have, and also will prove to be an interesting race here. Mr. Ridge goes up into P3 so far, 117.1. Not too bad of a time, just about 3/10 faster than what Hayden in the Alfa Romeo has. That's just on over to possibly with Nick here. Where is he on track? In the Mclaren getting around right about now. That's a purple sector 1 for him, getting through sector 2 right about now. Sector 1 a bit straightforward getting on through, but still this track is a bit tricky on some portions of it. Do need that extra bit of practice in terms of avoiding spins, especially for 100%ers. They're going to have to be extra focused on this, and they're going to have to take it just a bit easy on the opening few laps. I know everyone's going to be pushing a bit for positions, but you're going to have to be extra careful just to make it all the way to the end of the race. This is going to be interesting one, because they have to just be a bit focused that they do need the points as well. That's a purple sector 2 so far from the Mclaren here of Nick, and he's looking pretty good at possibly getting onto provisional pole. Let's see if that's going to happen here or not. We got just under 9 minutes remaining in the qualifying session before we head straight into the race. So very short qualifying session here this evening with Slipstream Racing League in terms of the Portuguese Grand Prix getting started. So we're just getting a bit excited getting started to that. That is a 117.1, puts him up into P4, not the best sector 3 time. So I think that's where his weak spot is going to be here on the track. So he needs to just overcome that a bit and possibly get a better timing. Where is Tyler on track? See where he is in the next Red Bull, getting started on a lap here right about now. Let's see how that lap currently is going to be going for him. On board once again with another driver around the track. Let's have a look and see how well they're actually maneuvering themselves around here. Of course, qualifying is going to be one thing, overtaking on track and racing against their fellow players here. This is going to be an entirely different situation. We've got to see how they're going to manage through with that. And we're looking at a strategy what these guys are putting up with here right about now. Looks like majority of the drivers are going to be focused on getting onto the set of soft tires to get the race started here. But of course, if we're doing a wet to dry start, doesn't really matter. I think that's why they're all on the softs here, because if it's a wet to dry, that means we're starting in the wet. They'll have to start probably on the intermediate tires here, or even the full wets, depending on how heavy the rain is going to come down when the race is ready to get started. So Tires won't be too much of an issue here getting into the race itself, so I think that's why everyone's running on the soft tires. We'll see what the situation is, because I see two drivers have done laps on the mediums here though, so hopefully they are aware of what the weather conditions currently are and what's going to happen in the race itself. It is a bit cloudy since we got started here in the qualifying session, but has been that way all the way through. Got Tyler getting through the stop finish line and gets a 118.1, puts him up into the 11th on the grid right about now. All we're seeing is 117s, 118s. We got a 119 and 116 so far. That's with Robbie and Walker out in front on the front row of the grid to get started with the race. 116.8, 116.9, just a tenth is what separates the two of them. Pretty close off with them, gotta say. And then we got Mr. Rage and Nick third and fourth. That's the second row of the grid to get this race started. It's literally just a hundredth of a second exactly that separates those two. Gotta say, quite interesting with the lap time so far. Very impressed with what the guys have put in terms of practice on this track, and I think it's going to be quite an interesting race. I hope it's going to be an interesting race getting all the way through, because we want to see them actually just push themselves all the way to the end of the race and not have DNFs happening. We'll see if that's going to be the case or not. Hopefully it should happen that way. We got Mike here in the Ferrari. He's getting on a qualifying lap right about now. I think Scooby is the only driver. They are not with a lap there as yet. Thanks Aaron for liking this stream there on Facebook as well. Remember guys, we are still live on YouTube, Twitch and Facebook, of course, mainstreaming channel here on YouTube. Please do remember to leave a like on the stream, and remember to guys to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because it does help us out quite a lot. So two drivers left to get some lap times in. We're on with the Ferrari right about now. Gotta have a look at Scooby, see where he's gonna be doing in just a bit. He's still in the pits right now, so haven't put together a lap as yet. Not sure if he has any sort of quali ban or not, but yeah, lap times looking quite impressive so far here on the track. So just waiting to see what's gonna happen as we get into that 100% race in just a bit. I think the race start will tell us quite a bit as well as we get on the opening few laps, so that just to see how much these guys are going to be pushing and what's going to happen, if we're going to have any DNFs on the just opening portion of the race. In the safety cars or VSCs, we do expect maybe yellow flags to just come about, just depending on how much contact there's going to be between cars. We can see Walker getting out on track again for another out lap. He's done a 116.9. He is not on provisional pole though. Starting second on the grid. Not sure that's going to be enough here at the track. This is the first race we're going to be having on the channel here at Portugal. So it's going to be a bit interesting on strategy and see how this actually works out with tires and whatnot for the guys, especially in a 100% race. It's going to be a little bit different, so I want to see what's going to happen as we get on through this. I haven't done a full race here myself, so I can't say too much about it, so we're going to be learning a bit as we get on through with this race. And that's 6 right now for Mikey as he has there. I don't see Scooby getting out on track, unfortunately, so they're possibly not going to be getting out. Let's have a look out in front. Where is Walker on track? He doesn't do too well under pressure, and what I mean by that is that he doesn't do too well when we're watching him on stream for some reason. But he already has second, so I'm still going to watch anyway and see what he's going to be up to here as he's about to get started on this lap right about now. He pushes to the limit in terms of track limits to get a really good lap in. So he does have to get this perfect. Let's have a look on board, see what he's going to be doing. He is pushing as much as he can, using up as much of the track, avoids those sausage curbs, if that's what you call them, and slows it down a bit, and already invalidates the lap here. Those decides that he pushes quite a bit, but can't be extremely careful in terms of putting a lap together. Yep, I said he doesn't perform too well under camera pressure, so I'm not sure what's happening with that. But he's still second on the grid. Still a pretty good starting position. Mr. Rage out on track in the Red Bull. He's trying to get a better time in. I think they want to get past what Robbie currently has here, that 116.8. I think they're itching to get past that time right about now, just to get onto provisional pole here for the start of the race, because they're not, I'm not sure if they're entirely sure how exactly it's going to go into turn one. I think they've done a few practice race starts during their practice session, just to see what it's like starting down maybe in the midfield, starting down in the front of the grid, starting down at the back of the grid, just to compare what exactly might happen as they get through this race. I'm quite sure they've done some races. Not sure they've done a 100% race as yet. But so this is going to be a bit tricky, I think, for the entire grid getting on through with this. We're down to just about 2.5 minutes remaining for the qualifying session. Then we get straight to the race. Guide drivers will start to retire off the session right about now, and because I think they're just happy with the time or not. People think they're gonna get a better time with the time that's left. Nick up to P4 on 17.1230. Quite an interesting gap between those two. So I think first row, second row of the grid, gonna get a bit interesting with them. Even though in the third row we got Kristaps and Hayden 5th and 6th, and they're only about 2/10 apart. Mikey and Beefy 7th and 8th. In the 4th row of the grid, they're separated by just under 200th of a second. Then we got Extremist and Draft separated by another 10th for the 5th row of the grid at the moment. 6th row down with Mazepin and NTXJ, just about a 10th between them. Maddie and Energetics, not too far off actually, just about a 10th as far as I can see. And it just continues that way all the way down to the back of the grid. Scooby, of course, no lap time in. Has not set any sort of lap time in here. I don't know if he's even gotten out of the pit so far for this qualifying session, so we'll see how well this is gonna go. Yeah, it doesn't look like much of the guys are going to be happy about what the weather conditions are going to be currently on track. But I think there is hope that most of the race is going to be dry. We might just have maybe just a small portion of the race actually being wet. But let's see what's going to happen. I think it's going to be interesting getting through with a race with mixed conditions on track as well. So might just make a bit more interesting with the driving, and just a bit more interesting for us to watch on this end as well. So just waiting for qualifying to officially be over here. Walker gets onto provisional pole, gets another lap, and as I said, he is camera shy. Doesn't want to be on stream when he's doing a lap. I don't know, I think it makes him nervous or something. It's a 116.4 for him. Goes 4/10 faster than what Robbie had on provisional pole. So he's now on with that and looking to start P1 on this race. Hopefully keeping that true as the race gets started. Hopefully doesn't the end of the session, because I know a lot of strange things sometimes happen on the start of these races here. So Robbie down to second, Mr. Ray still in third, Nick still in fourth, Kristaps and Extremist, both Mercedes, well now down to 6th and 7th, as Draft now takes away second position on the grid here for the start of the race. So both Mercedes still, they're looking pretty strong here. I mean, they're from what we saw, I think they're leading the championship. Let me have a look at it. Yep, they are leading the Constructors' Championship 159 against Ferrari with 133 so far. So this is going to be quite interesting. They're starting pretty high up. And there goes another driver into the mix. I think Nick just got a faster time. He just went into a 116.8, just about 200 of a second. That puts him just under 200 of a second, 200 of a second actually. Puts him up into P3. Robbie down to 4th. And I think he's going to have to hold with that. Draft still running on track, but I think that's his final lap time there. Puts him into second. He's going to possibly have to just keep that as they get on through this. Where is Matty in the Mclaren? Next Mclaren here. I think he's getting back into the pits. Energetics on track here in the Alpine. P15 so far for him for the start. 118.0. Not sure if he's going to get a faster time. About to get across the line. Oh, does he improve? He does improve. Goes up to P11. 117.5. So that's going to work pretty well. Directly in the midfield for the start of this race. Well, I'm not sure if that's the best place to be or not, but it's a better place to be than down in the back where he was. Tyler now gets a faster time. It goes up to P12, 117.7 at the end of the qualifying session. So quite a few changes happening as we finish off the short qualifying session here at Portugal. So Draft gets up into second, Walker gets up onto provisional pole, Nick gets up onto third, Robbie's down to fourth, Mikey holds now down to fifth. We still got two Mercedes pretty high up in the top 10 for the start of this race. That's the end of the qualifying session. We will have a quick look at the results as we get on through this. Alright, so not sure if the formation lap is on. Didn't have actually a look at that, but let's just go through the top 10 at least here. So Walker starting P1, got Draft in second, Nick will start third on the grid, Robbie in fourth, Mikey in fifth, Mr. Rage in sixth, we got Kristaps in seventh, Extremist 8th, Hayden in 9th, Beefy in 10th so far. I'm just trying to get some information if we do have a formation lap on or not, because I'm not sure. Usually we do have it on. Because we tend to use the formation lap usually to just get through the entire starting grid as we go on through them. Usually we can't do it here, but I prefer doing it on that formation lap if we do have that option in. Okay, so we're heading straight into that race session. Let's have that load on. The guys gonna get their setups in, fuel setups and whatnot, and we should be good. So yeah, definitely looks like an extremely wet start. We're gonna be starting on the full wets, I believe, here, with that level of rain that I'm seeing on track. There are a lot of puddles in the pit lane as well. So this is gonna be an interesting race start, and hopefully the rain is not too heavy to delay the race in any way. So let's see what's gonna happen as we get on track. I think Morvan has just liked the stream there on Facebook. Thank you very much for that. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel there as well. Alright, I think the guys are just a bit busy getting everything sorted on for the session start. So let's work with that. If the formation lap is not on, guys, that's fine. We're just going to work with the getting on through. We did have a look on what the order is. I think it is on. Yep, definitely is on. So 66 laps here. Let's have a look. And let's just get a few stats on screen. In the meanwhile, we do have a look. As we can see, going to be a full wet start here. They're all on the full wets. Blue stripe tires here as they get on through with this. So this is going to be quite interesting. Let's keep this on to penalties down at the back there. Have a look at our full starting grid. 20 drivers on the grid. Had an interesting short qualifying session. Walker starting P1 here on the front row. Alongside him is going to be dropped there. Nick and Robbie starting on the second row of the grid. Got Mikey and Mr. Ray starting on the third row. Chris Stops and Extreme, which will start on the fourth. Hayden and Beefy starts on the fifth row there, 9th and 10th. We got Energetic starting in 11th. Tyler will start 12th. Mazepin 13. Quite surprising. Entex J 14. Vintage in 15. Got Maddie starting 16. Red Devil starts 17. Cody starts 18. His teammate behind of him starting 19. That's Chris there. Scooby starts 20th and Grid. Did not get a time in qualifying at all there. So let's see how well that's going to go through. I think probably it's my settings that are a bit off in terms of the amount of spray you see on track, guys. So I guess we're not seeing exactly what should be seen here with that level of water on track. But I can't really change that setting right about now. I'll probably have a look at that a bit later on, because I think there is a extensive setting in terms of the amount of spray you see on track when you're racing in the wet, but I'm not sure if it's different on the spectator mode, because we do expect to see quite a lot of spray behind these cars getting on through that, but I think we'll be able to see that as we get on through this portion here right about now. So we have to let that be for the moment. And let's just bring this back down and put it to position changes as they are now getting sorted back onto the grid. So I don't think I'll be able to adjust the spray level that we see behind the cars coming through here, but at least we're seeing the cars clearly as they get on through the wet session. But you would expect the amount of spray coming off those cars to be quite heavy in this amount of rain here. I think I just haven't adjusted my settings at any point. That's why we're not seeing it. So we're gonna have to let it be. We'll adjust it after this race. So hopefully for future races, be able to see a bit more spray behind the car, just to make it a bit more realistic with that. I think it has to be manually adjusted in terms of getting that done. So there we have it, waiting for the final driver to get sorted on the grid. We got Walker on the left side, we got Draft here on the right side, waiting to see how well this is going to go between the two of them as they get down into turn one. Remember, it is a bit downhill. It's a wet track right about now getting started with this race. They're going to have to be extra careful in terms of braking zones here. I think they got 5 lights on. I think they're off for a 66 lap. Let's see how well this is going to go. Bit of an equal start, I think. It looks like Walker gets through it pretty well, though. Let's see how that goes with the rest of the grid as they get on through down. They're going to have cars all over the track as they attempt to get through that braking zone. They slip back into the racing line, getting on through with that. But so far, so good as they have it. Haven't seen any major incidents down at the back of the track. We do have a few cars side by side in the midfield here, trying to have a look. We do hear some contact happening there as well as they get on through. Try to navigate their way through that opening lap here. Some extremely close gaps. I don't think we have any damaged cars so far, but it could still be a possibility at this point here. Top 3 so far right there where they started. We can see a Mclaren, and I think that's Cody and Maddie here trying to get side by side with each other on that open up, getting through, still holding for positions, and quite a few position changes as we've had it so far. Mike and Robbie switch positions out front. Looks like Mr. Rage is trying to get ahead of Robbie there at the moment, and still that's going for him, and looks like a bit of a slide from the Haas getting up the hill there. I think that was Robbie. I fell down quite a few positions though, as he's now down just a bit further on down back. Let's see how well that's holding for him as he gets on through. Tries to get around that Alfa Romeo of Hayden at the moment there. So we'll have a look more at the position changes a bit later on in the session. Let's switch this on over to penalties and leave it at that at the moment at least. I hate that we don't have the spray on. The graphic on for the spray, so we can see the spray coming up behind the cars there, even though it's a wet race at that. I did not realize that setting was off for it. Never turned it off or turned it on, so I'm not even sure. I know there's a setting for it though. I saw some guys interfering with that just a bit on the line. So let's have a look. We're going in the midfield here right about now with Extremist on board. 3 tenths behind this rate as he gets on through this current lap here and tries to hold it on pretty well. Not sure what the level of spray they're seeing on track here as they get on through this, but we're having a pretty clear view of what's happening so far. But yeah, a lot of rain on track right now. Going to be a lot of sliding around as they get on through this. So you can see that Red Bull getting a bit unstable out in front there, but still getting off pretty well. But anyway, we're not going to be focused too much on the spring. It's going to dry off in hopefully pretty soon enough. We'll see how long the rain is going to last as they get around the track here. Trying to get back out in front, have a look what's happening with the top 3 at least for now. Walker seems to be getting away just a little bit right about now. Mazepin, of course, all the way back down to 20th on the grid. Started in the midfield, not sure what happened. And has a 3-second penalty along with NTXJ, who now gains a position actually. He's up into 8 and still fighting for that position there, I think, with Robbie at the moment. Or see how that's going. So gap out in front to the race leader and Richard in second, 1.2 second. Nick down to third, 1.4 second behind that Williams or Mikey running in fourth, another second. So we're starting to form some gaps as they get on through. Quite interesting enough, we do have all 20 drivers still in this race on lap 2 of 66 getting on through. So they've held on at least through that. Let's see if they're going to keep this going as we get further into this race. I think they're keeping their positions as much as they can. They're not overly pushing for an overtake at this point, just lining it up. And we can see NTXJ getting a bit slippery off that final turn, but he still gets a pretty good run getting on through. We do have Hayden here chasing after him. He's going to try to pull on down the inside, but thinks about it, but doesn't actually get it done. He's going to have to just hold that line for now and just ease into getting that overtake done. Of course, we're not going to have DRS available on track here since it is fully wet at this point here. So we're going to have to just let that be getting on over to the dry portion of the race. Then they're going to have that coming. We'll have a look and see. Let's have a look on board. I want to see if the rain is easing off. It's a bit harder to tell with the graphic as it is there right about now. Robbie there trying to get a past Beefy here for P7. Let's see if he's going to be able to pull this off. He did have a bit of a bad start, and he's trying to recover from that as much as he can right now. Still trying to pull on through, having a good run getting on through here in 8. Of course, the Beefy in front of him has a bit of a challenge here in terms of getting past right now. Let's see if he's able to pull this off. I think this is going to go through quite interestingly well. Down in the back there, I see Energetics getting a pretty good run against Christoph there for 15th position. It's about a 3:10 gap, so let's see how they keep that going. Out in front, interestingly enough, gap is down to about half a second between Walker and Troft, and that, of course, is for the lead of the Portuguese Grand Prix. So let's see if Walker is able to hold it off out front. Looks like some problem, something is happening, definitely. Walker might have made a mistake, I'm not entirely sure, but he is camera shy on stream, so not sure how well this is going to go for him. Troft getting fast as lapped, so he is definitely catching up. He's down to about 3/10 right now as they get into turn 1. Let's get on board and have a look a bit and see what's happening as they get on through here. So he is getting a bit slippery on track here right about now. I think he might actually be hoping for this rain to come to an end so they can switch on over to the dry tires at some point here. Not sure how soon that is going to happen. Track is severely wet at this point. Yes, we're definitely going to have to increase or adjust the settings, I guess, so that we can see a spray behind the cars as they get on through a wet race. We're supposed to be able to see that. I haven't done much interfering with the settings on the game so far for that as yet, but I'll have a look at that after this race. Gap going back up to about 7/10 between those two out front so far, so they're keeping it going pretty well. Drop doing a pretty good job keeping it under a second, but I think Walker's pushing back a bit more right about now. He's trying to increase that gap, take it back over a second, and just extend it onwards from there as much as he can. Nick here running in third, still just about 2.3 seconds behind. He still has that gap to work with, has some time to catch up, but he tries to keep a gap against the car behind. And I think that's the Ferrari of Mikey. They're coming behind him. Mr. Rage and the Red Bull in fifth. They're going to have to watch the gaps that they're forming. Down in the midfield, some very close gaps that we're going to fall over here right about now, along with BP Robbie and then Tex J, along with Hayden as well, just following on between with that. So just having a look and see how that's going with them. So far so good, as they're keeping the gaps a bit constant getting on through the race. We're on lap 5, got a yellow flag situation down there. Sector 3, I think someone just slid off, maybe just a bit, or had a bit of a spin maybe, but they're still going. So I think we're still running pretty well so far. If Mazepin's still in the race, I think we're doing pretty well in terms of keeping drivers in the race. He's of course down in 20th on the grid, so not sure how that's going to work. We do have some penalties on track. Extreme with a 6-second penalty. We got Intex here, 3-second. Robbie now gets a 3-second. Scooby and Energetics 3 seconds, along with Mazepin as well. Looks like Maddie's out of the race in the McLaren there. Let's have a look. And I think we just went past this car down on the side of the track here. That's going to be a full safety car. Just to get maybe whatever debris is on track. We might possibly see some pit stops, I'm not sure. Of course, they're all running on the full wets right about now. Let's get on out in front with Walker at the moment, who's leading this race from the start up to this point, and he's kept that position. Draft has kept second. We have Nick, who's kept third. Mikey's kept fourth. And they're getting on through this. So we're going to run about another 2 or 3 laps here. Safety car conditions as we get on through this. Still a wet race as we go. Not drying up enough or rain easing off enough as yet for them to actually go on to the intermediate. So still, yep, still definitely wet on track. They're going to have to determine when it becomes dry enough to actually get onto those intermediates. And there's still a lot of water standing on track. So I don't think that's going to be right away, but it might. It is a 66 lap race, guys. It's going to last a bit longer here in terms of that track starting to dry up before we're able to get on. Of course, the racing line will start to dry up for us. So we'll see what's going to happen as they get on through with this. And we can see, I think everyone just getting past the pit lane entry there. They're back onto the start finish. We're getting into the next lap. That's into lap 6 right about now. On the full wets. No need to actually do a pit stop right about now. So I think they're all just going to continue on through the race itself. And now we're going to line up behind the safety car and go at least about 2 laps before we actually get back this race underway. I wonder if I can access settings at this point here. I highly doubt it, but let's have a look. We're going to interfere with that just a bit. Give me a second here, guys. Okay, so I have no idea where that setting is. I'm just trying to find to see if I could find it on the session itself. So safety car is going to be in back on this lap. Sorry about a bit of disruption on that. We're just running on the safety car. Anyway, I highly doubt any position changes happen. So Maddie out to the race. One driver out. We got 19 remaining to get through the rest of the race here. Still about 60 laps or so the average to go before we finish this up. I think we're actually about 59. Let's call it 59 laps. So we're about to get into lap 8. So I'll call it about 59 laps still remaining to go. We have Walker holding up the grid out in front as the safety car goes in. He's going to be the one to get back going here. 5-second penalty for NTXJ. Out race severe collision with Tyler down at the back of the grid. Let's see how the restart goes as they all get back going. And Walker's going to try to pull out front as much as he can, getting into turn 1. I'm not sure if it's a lobby setting that allows that. I have absolutely no idea. Here we got the Mercedes of Extremist trying to get alongside that Red Bull of Mr. Rage. I haven't actually got that done, so still holding on to P6 as he gets on through this. I also have Robbie chasing after him down behind. Let's see what that's going to work as he continues on. Still trying to gain back that position here. And of course, we're still running under wet conditions here on track at the moment. Trying to, I think someone just slid off the track. I think that was Hayden there having some problems. Let's try and have a look down at the back of the grid, see if we can catch up to him. And he is off track, trying to get back going again. Let's get back out in front. Mikey here, 5/10, right about down, chasing after Nick out front, who's currently third on the grid and running. Having a bit of a trouble catching up to him. He's getting a bit of a closer gap going, but needs to keep that gap as close as he can in terms of trying to get an overtake done at this point here. Either way, so far so good as he gets on through this lap. So into lap 8, that was our first safety car of this session. Got some more penalties coming into play here as well as we get on through this. I think our gaps are still very close, that we actually want to see it that way, and we're hoping that this track starts to dry up pretty soon. I think majority of the drivers are going to be hoping for that as well, because I think they did bring a dry setup into the race, but I think they're doing a pretty good job of keeping the pace going as it is right about now in terms of keeping up with each other. We got Extremist once again on the rear of that Red Bull of Mr. Rage. He's trying to get an overtake in here, but really having a bit of a difficult time getting that done. So I'll have to just keep on that car, and going to have to watch in terms of just avoiding penalties at this point here, because both Extremist and Robbie have penalties. Mr. Rage out in front, no penalties for him. So they do need to be careful. Looks like Mr. Rage is gaining a position out in front, and he's up into fourth. Mikey down the positions. We got a bit of contact there between the Red Bull of Mr. Rage and with that for Mikey there. So let's see if any damage from that. I don't think they took any damage, but still a pretty close call between them on a wet track could have resulted in a worse situation happening. We're on lap 9 at the moment getting on through. Let's see what's happening. 3/10, and I think they're keeping it going at that point there. They're still fighting around for positions here. The Mercedes of Extremist still trying to push around the Red Bull of Mr. Rage, not getting the overtake done, having quite a bit of a difficult time getting it done. Behind we got Mikey and Beefy fighting for P6. I think NTXJ trying to get into the middle of that there as well. So trying to have a look and see what's happening. Gap has gone away between those two out in front a bit, so let's let that be. Looks like Walker's pulling away a bit, 1.1 seconds, and Nick 1.2 seconds down. He's got a better gap to work with after that safety car went in. Let's see if he's able to keep it up at this point here. We got the Williams of I think that is NTXJ coming down behind. He's trying to gain some time here. Walker getting the fastest lap so far. Looks like he's doing pretty well out in front. Got some position changes happening down in the grid there as well. Looks like someone's falling down the order, and that might be Cody there and Robbie as well. So looks like something potentially happened maybe with those two down at the back. I'm not entirely sure, but I think they're in the pit lane, possibly in the pit lane. Does look like they're in the pit lane. Trying to get back out front with the Williams here of Drop. See what's happening between him and Walker. Gap has decreased a bit. He's under a second once again between these two, so not sure if anything's going to happen at this point here as it is. But remember, it is still fully wet on track. We're into lap 10. We might have to go just a bit more before it does start to ease off with the rain here, but we do expect the second half of this race to not have any rain in it at all, so we should have a dry race on that account there. We'll see how the drivers manage the switch over to the dry tires when that time does come. Of course, I think they will have to switch to the intermediates first and then get onto the dry tires. We'll see how it goes, because the rain might start to just ease off a bit as we get around to this. I guess it looks like Draft now getting the fastest lap here. We're still following on with these two out in front, with Walker leading and Draft running in second. Because of course it's going to be an interesting battle between the two of them, and they're easing into it. Draft just hanging back right there, just trying to keep his car within a second of Walker out in front, just to make sure he can keep the gap as close as he can. So if Walker does make a mistake, he is going to take advantage of it. I just try to get into the lead, and once he does take that away, I highly doubt he's going to be giving it back. So let's see what's going to work between them. Down in the midfield, we still have quite a few gaps down in the midfield, a grid going on through. And looks like our gap has closed in quite a bit since the past few laps when our safety car went into this one, out to about 3/10 for a second there. Just went back up. Does look like Nick is trying to keep his gap as close as he can as well. Just 1.1 second behind, but he's gonna have to just do a pretty good job of avoiding penalties right about now. Top three cars without any penalties. You can see Mike and Beefy no penalties as well, along with Vintage, Christoph, we got Red Devil, and Cody. No penalties with them as well. So still just one driver lost from this race so far. We all still have the rest of 19 of them still going pretty strong with it. Some pretty good gaps, except for Cody there. Just has a bit of a gap, 19.6 seconds behind Chris. Of course, we might start to see some pit stops happen pretty soon if they want to try to get off these full wets. Maybe onto a new set of wets, or I think they might just hold it out until the track starts to dry up, maybe just a little bit to get onto the intermediate tires. Not sure if they're going to try and do that or not, but we're trying to see what's going to happen in that case. We're going to go down back to Extremist and Mr. Rage. These two are actually still at it. They do have the Ferrari of Mikey though chasing after them. Like I said, Mikey's getting much closer. Beefy coming behind, but has lost some time. He's down by about 1.6 seconds to still try and catch up to the Ferrari out in front of him. I think he's got that going pretty well so far. So lap 12 of 66. Still going pretty well. Got a yellow flag over in sector 1. Looks like someone is off track here at the moment. Trying to see if we can have a look. Looks like whatever that was, they've gotten that going again. So I think we're back good to go. And looking back at our top three cars so far, Tyler getting another penalty. We are going to see a lot of penalties in this race here. Remember guys, it is a new track added on to the game. So even with the amount of practice these guys have had on the track, they're still going to end up exceeding track limits, because rules are on strict as usually is. Gap is within a second between the top three so far. Walker looks like, I think he is into the pits. Is he not? Let's have a look at that right about now. Yep, he is into the pit lane at the moment. And we can see how many drivers have actually done a stop so far here. And looks like he's going to try it out on the intermediates. They did look like he's starting to ease off just quite a bit on track here. So we're going to leave tires on for just a few laps here. Let's have a look and see who's going on to the intermediates and who's not, and how well is that going to work for him as he gets back out on track. He's down into 14th after taking that pit stop there. From the lead of the race all the way back down to 14th. So it looks like he's struggling just a bit in terms of gaining traction here on track. But the track does seem to be drying up, especially on the racing line right now. If you can have a look, as we see, it is drying up pretty well on the racing line. Looks like car in front of him gets a little bit twitchy there as well, having trouble braking. He seems to be having better luck in terms of running on these intermediates. Looks like Chris down in the back of the grid. He's taking a chance on the intermediates here as well to see if it's actually going to work out or not. But so far so good with Walker. He's up into 13th, has gained one position after taking that pit stop. Out in front, Drop will continue to lead the Portuguese run. Prix, we got Mr. Rage up into second. Extremist running third. Next running in fourth there right about now. Mr. Rage gained quite a few positions here, and he's up into second on the grid. Let's see what that's going to work out for him. Walker here, of course, looking to gain more positions again as he gets around the Mercedes. And that puts him up into P12, a bit twitchy getting off that there as well. There's a bit of contact, I think, with the Mercedes, possibly not wanting to let him go. Either way, let's see how that's going to work out for him. But so far, it's looking pretty good, and we got quite a few pit stops happening, and very busy pit lane right about now as everyone's diving into the pits to get onto the intermediate tires. The rain is easing off. It's down to a level of just drizzling here on track, and we can see definitely the racing line has dried out quite a bit. So they do have that portion of the track to just use these intermediates as much as they can until the rest of the track starts to drive just a bit more, and then we can get onto the full dry tires. That's going to be the soft, mediums, and hards, and we're going to finish the race, the second half of the race on those. As we get through halfway point of this race, is going to be lap 33. Let's see if we're going to be able to get onto these dry tires by the time we get around to that time in the race itself. So lap 14 right about now, we got most of our drivers on the intermediates right now. We still got Mikey now, who's leading the race, hasn't done a stop as yet. He's still on the wets. Energetics now takes over second place on the grid. He is still on the wets as well, along with Robbie down all the way there back. I think he's in the pits right now though, trying to get rid of those wet tires and possibly getting onto a set of intermediates. I'm not sure exactly what he's up to, but I think he's retired. It looks like Robbie has retired from the race itself here. Yes, we are going to call out everyone who retires from the 100% race without actually finishing it. So we're down to 18 drivers remaining right about now. That's from full grid of 20 that started this on. Looks like Walker's getting back up into second right now as he gets past Energetics. Has a 5.6 second gap towards Mikey out in front, who is now into the pit. So he now takes back the lead of the Portuguese Grand Prix, and he's back up into P1. Droft is going to follow him and go back into second. They're going to take back the positions they had here. So he's back up into second already, a gap of 2.4 seconds between him and Walker. So it looks like the undercut worked pretty well. Walker diving into the pits first. He gets a bit of an advantage in terms of getting out on the intermediates. Has some fast times running in before the rest of the grid actually dived into the pits. So he gained a bit of gap here. Let's see if he's able to keep this on going. The rain definitely going away right about now. Some very minor drizzles only on track. Track is starting to dry up just there as well. And Extremist is now up into third, got Rage down to 4th, Beefy running 5th, Nick in 6th, Mikey 7th, and J8 Vintage in 9th. Scooby now running 10th, where he started 20th on the grid, and he's even done a stop. So an interesting change up for him. Man's been all the way up into 11th. We got Energetics now running 12th, Red Devil in 13, Christoph's running 14 now, Hayden in 15, Chris in 16, Cody 17, Tyler there in 18. And hopefully we can have no unnecessary retirements happening on track here for the rest of the session. On lap 15 of 66, let's see if the rest of this is going to go. So gap up front, still pretty close up. We're going to go down to the midfield of the grid, have a look what's happening. BP here within a second right now of Mr. Rage. He's losing a bit of time at the moment. Let's see if he's going to continue losing or possibly try to gain back some time if he can. This might just get a bit more interesting if it starts to dry out a bit more. We have to switch on over to the dry tires, and I think they're going to hope for that to happen before these intermediates actually wear off, and they have to go into a new set of intermediates, because the intermediate tires do not last very long on track. They're much like the softs in terms of a dry race, so they're gonna have to hope that that rain goes away pretty quickly and they're gonna be able to go on to the dry compounds, and I think that's gonna happen. As we can see here, track definitely drying out. Those puddles are already gone. The racing line, of course, definitely always going to be much drier on the track than the rest of the track here. So when you see these guys start to dive off the racing line just to get some water for these tires to actually displace on track, we're going to definitely know that it's time for those dry tires to come online, come on the cars, and especially when DRS will be online as well. Because once it gets safe enough to that point, race control will allow DRS to come back online. Let's go back down to the midfield of the grid and have a look at Scooby right now. So 7/10 with the Alpine and the Vintage out in front of him. Let's see if he's gaining any sort of time here or not. So far as he gets on through this, looks like he's going pretty well, but I'm not sure if he's gaining time. We're going to take back tires off for now, just put it back onto penalties, and we can see what the penalty situation is right about now. There are quite a lot of penalties on track. Walker even with a 5-second penalty, which he should be able to serve in the pit lane with a 5-second stop go. That's a 5-second stop go penalty when he does his next pit stop. So at least he will be able to get rid of that, but he does need to create some sort of gap between him and Drop there. That's what's going to possibly lose him the lead of the race when he does do the stops. We'll see what's going to happen. Up into lap 17 right about now. Let's go on a bit further down at the back. We'll see what's happening with these guys down at the back here. Chris stops here. 5/10 with him in the Mercedes chasing after Red Devil out in front in the Alfa Romeo. Let's have a look on board and see how well that's going. So still, better just launch practice, trying to have a look at that there as well as they get on through into the next lap here. Okay, Mazepin gets another 3-second penalty here. Looks like Red Devil coming under pressure right about now from the Mercedes. He goes a bit wide here and leaves a gap open that Mercedes is going to push for into the braking zone of the next turn. And looks like Christoph is getting that overtake done quite easily there after that mistakes from the Alfa Romeo driver. He's up into 13th and not a bad overtake from him so far. So far so good out in front. Walker extending his lead right now 1.6 seconds as he continues on through this, and I think he's going to try to keep that gap going as much as he can. We're going to get back up further up the field right about now with Nick here in the McLaren chasing after Beefy, of course. 5 tenths between the two of them. See how that battle is going to prolong through, because Nick is going to try to keep that gap as close as he can. Beefy, of course, having some time to catch up with here. He is 1.4 seconds down from the Red Bull in front of him. That's Mr. Rage out in front. Definitely looking to finish pretty high up in his race, but Nick trying to make that a bit difficult here. He's trying to gain a position, but he's going to have some problems doing this. He's going to have to just keep on the rear of that car and keep this going on through. Beefy, of course, now gets a penalty there. That's going to affect his race position as well. So let's see how many drivers are going to have their race positions affected down at the end of this, because we do know that some of them will be losing, some of them will be gaining positions as you get on through this session right now. So yeah guys, did have a full dry qualifying session. We started off with a full wet race. We're down to like a medium wet race with these intermediates on. And just I think we're waiting right about now for that rain to completely go away so that you guys can have the track dry out and then go on to the full dry compound tires. And I think they're going to have some much more pace getting on through with the lap times here as well. Seeing a bit of lock up here with Nick as well, trying to break in time, getting around these turns here on the track. So having a bit of a difficult time with that. Still out in front, Draft and Walker gap is now within a second once again with these two. And let's see if that's going to go down below 4 tenths or so. I'll probably have a look at them. Nick and BP having about the same gap right about now. Looks like Hayden is out of the race. He might have retired from track here as well. And it looks like he has retired from the session so far. So Hayden and Robbie retiring from the race. Looks like they do not want to finish the session here. Lap 19 of 66 so far as we get on through. There's still about, I guess, about 40 something laps or so to go. So we're down to about 17 drivers remaining, still getting on through the race. Well, pretty well still, as these guys are controlling their pace quite well for a 100% race getting on through. They're just maintaining that pace getting on through, continuing their chases and just keeping the gaps as close as they can, and just hoping that driver in front of them will make a mistake or that they gain time, just lifting and coasting a bit, saving fuel, watching the level on how much they actually wear already these tires right about now, because they do have to be careful about it in terms of waiting for the rain to go away so they can switch over to the dry tires as soon as the track is dry enough for it. But they're trying to make sure that they don't have to do an extra stop in terms of getting onto a new set of intermediates, so they don't want to wear them away too fast right about now. They're going to be just controlling that level of wear a bit as much as they can getting on through. We're still on board right now, following on with Beefy and Nick here. This is for P5, of course. Beefy now within range of Mr. Rage out in front of him. He's trying to keep that gap within a second as much as he can. And we do have the Mercedes in front of Mr. Rage as well. That's Extremist. They're running in third. That's a podium position that they're all fighting for right about now, since it's the final one. Out in front, gap between Walker and Draft down to 6 tenths as they were going through turn 1 was down to about 3 tenths. And looks like Draft getting past here. Walker makes a bit of a mistake. He's off track. He's trying to get back going here right about now. Not sure if he took any damage on that car. It doesn't look as to be the case. So I think he's safe in terms of front wing damage. He's going to continue on through, but has lost the lead of the Portuguese Grand Prix. Led this race for about 20 laps. Went into the pits. Didn't lead for at least 1 lap there, I would assume, but then got back the lead just within 2 laps of coming back out. So still quite an interesting race for him so far, but he needs to get back his race lead here. So he's going to have to work this under pit stops now and hopefully gain some sort of advantage in terms of trying to get it back. Draft now leads the race. 3.4 seconds is what the gap is. Walker, of course, with a 5-second penalty. This is going to hurt his position in the race as well as he gets on through this, because remember the next pit stop he might have to serve that 5-second penalty as a stop go penalty. You have to be stationary for 5 seconds. The pit crew will not be allowed to work on the car for that 5 seconds, and then it's going to feel like a very long time in the pits as well. So just be sitting there for 5 seconds waiting for that to be over and just getting back on the track. Of course, he will have been served that and then will be able to gain back as much position as he can and not worry about that 5 seconds. Hopefully he doesn't gain any more penalties getting on through the race. We'll see how that works on through. We're gonna go back down here with Beefy and Nick right about now. Let's see how they're working on through. Mr. Rage now gets another penalty in this session as well, so not looking too promising for him there. He has to avoid getting penalties here because 6-second penalties what he now has. Track limits are a bit of a difficult situation for most of the drivers on track here that we can see so far. Got 17 drivers still running strong in this race and trying to finish this. 13-second gap between Christophs and Red Devil for 13th position. I think that's the biggest gap we have. Other than that, other gaps are just a bit under. Got Extremist and Walker a 13.3-second gap. So those two out in front are running pretty well off out in front. But of course, not a big enough gap that Walker can take a stop and just get back into second if he does need to in terms of getting fastest lap at the end of this race or whatnot. So we gotta see how the strategy works out. Is the rain fully gone is what I'm trying to look at right now. Extremely minor drizzles on track only, but that track is drying out. We'll be looking at going into the halfway point of the race at some point soon in another 10-13 laps or so, and hopefully by then we'll be on the dry tires. We'll see some very fast racing happening here on track, and let's see if Walker's going to get any advantage of being on a dry track against Draft in the Williams. Possibly might happen, possibly might not happen. We'll see how that works out either way. And of course we do have to have a look at the driver standings in just a bit. We're waiting for the rain to fully be gone, and I think it's definitely gone right about now. It might still be raining on some portions of the track here, not entirely sure what gap right about now between Beefy and Mr. Rage has gone over a second. Needs to get it back under a second because we're going to have DRS online once this track dries out enough, and they will be able to go onto the dry tires once that happens as there as well. Trying to follow on with this gap here of Mr. Rage and Extremist out in front. I think Scooby has the 5-second gap there as well. Chris Dung at the back has a 2:10 gap to his teammate. Let's see if he's able to make a switch without an so both Aston Martins running just behind each other right about now on track. Not sure how well that's actually going for them. Gonna follow on down at the midfield here. Energetics chasing after Mazepin right about now. So the Alpine looking to get by up into P11 if he can. Gap down to about 3:10. So let's see how well that's actually working out for him. Draft now gets the fastest lap. Looks like Energetics gets past the Haas. And on the inside, he's trying to get back around the outside here. The Haas fighting it back though. So Mazepin still trying to hold on to that position. The Alpine having some severe problems getting around here. Let's see who's going to get the advantage at least by the end of this lap, because they will have the bit of advantage on the start finish straight there. I think Energetics trying to keep it a bit safe right about now. Doesn't want to risk losing more positions at this point here right about now. They're getting back onto the start finish straight. That slipstream is going to be a bit strong getting down into turn one as the track is starting to dry out. So let's see how that works. And he is going to use that slipstream as much as he can. Mazepin trying to keep him out of that at this point here right now, pulling left and right on track. I don't think he's close enough to actually get an overtake down, so he's going to have to just keep it there for now. 3:10 is where the gap is, and it's going to continue on that way, getting through the rest of this lap. And it looks like Energetics might actually still get that overtake done, but just depends on how much Mazepin is able to hold them off here. Both of them having penalties, of course. We'll have a look. I think we just got about 4 drivers in this race without penalties so far, out of 17 currently racing from 20 that we started with. I'm just trying to see where this gap is going to go, because right at the moment it's not looking like it's going to be going anywhere. We are of course going to expect some closer gaps once the track starts to actually dry out fully and we're able to go onto the full dry tires. We're looking like we're having some problems with these guys running on the intermediates right about now. Let's go back out to the front, see what's happening here with extremists. So if they're having trouble on the intermediates, it might just be time for them to switch over to the dries. It's going to be a bit dependent upon them. I can't fully tell what the conditions on track it looks like. I know the racing line is dried out right about now, and looks like they are having some trouble here. Extremists having some problem in terms of trying to get around. Let's see if he's going to be doing a pit stop door or not. Looks like he is going to be diving into the pits. I might be one of the first possibly to get into the pits and try to get onto a new set of tires here. He is going to be the first one. Now let's see, is he going onto a new set of intermediates? Does look like it is the case here. I think everyone else is actually holding out on those intermediates right about. It looks like he lost the front wing as well, which is why he did a stop there. I think we would have possibly expected him. Looks like Cody's out of the race, by the way. And that's a full safety car. He took the pit stop at the wrong time here. Extremist. He's onto a set of intermediates. Is it the right set of tires to be going back onto with the situation on track here right about now? It is drying out quite a bit. I'm not sure if it's dried out enough for them to actually get onto those full dries as yet. But under a safety car right about now, they might be taking the chance. If the track has insufficient grip for these intermediates, they might end up taking the chance of going onto the dry compounds right now. So this is going to be a chance out front with Draft here leading. Everyone's going to be wanting to see what he does. If he does go into the pits, and of course they're not going to know what tires he's going on, so that's going to make it a bit interesting. And it looks like he is going to be going in. Let's see what the choice is going to be in the pit lane in terms of switching tires right about now. And looks like it's going to be the dry tires for someone there. Looks like someone's getting onto the mediums, and that's possibly going to be dropped there. He's going onto the mediums. I think you will still have to do one more stop in this race, and it looks like they're doing a strategy of medium to soft from this point, maybe. Let's see what's going to happen. Walker goes on to a set of softs, though. A bit of a different strategy to run here. I think he wants to try to get back the lead and then do a set of mediums to go to the end of the race. Maybe here we'll see what's going to happen. But of course, they can use whatever tires they want since he started off as a wet race. Also, remember guys, we're still running under the safety car right about now, so as it is at the moment, everyone is going to get bunched back up. Doesn't look like Vintage did a pit stop here. He's still running on track on those intermediates, which I don't think was a wise idea at this point here, because now pitting at any point after this is going to put you at a bit of a disadvantage. So let's see what's happening with that, because I think he's probably holding out that the track is still good enough to go on these intermediates. So did Chris stops there. He's not doing a stop as well, but these intermediates are pretty old at this point here. They should have done a stop and got off on the even if you're going on to a new set of intermediates, but I think they're just holding it off maybe just a bit more. I'm not sure what's happening. But let's see how that's going to work with them out in front. We're on with the Williams of Draft right now, as he is going to be following on behind the safety car, just waiting for that to go back in. Gaps are going to start to close in between all of our drivers right about now. Looks like Mr. Ray should be able to catch back up to Walker there as well, who is currently second on the grid. Of course, Walker on the fresh set of soft tires, Draft on the mediums. Looks like Walker's going to be fighting him off after that safety car restart to get back the lead, which he started with in the race there. And Draft going to try to keep it as much as he can, but might be at a slight disadvantage being on the mediums here as well. Vintage, Kristaps, and Extremists on those intermediates still there. Of course, the Extremists did a switch and went on to the intermediates, so I'm not sure, really not sure that was the wisest choice at this point in the race here. And looks like Vintage is now into the pits. He's now going to make a switch and get onto a next set of tires here. Not sure how many positions that's going to cost him. Okay, so still running under the safety car here, which I think we should be going one more lap. I'm just trying to have a look if we're going to be going one more lap. And we possibly might have a quick look at the driver standings if that is the case. Otherwise, we will wait for another safety car or another option in the session to have a quick look at that in just a bit here. I think they're about to get into sector 3 right about. Let's have a look on board, see what's happening. Yep, so track sufficiently dry enough to run on the dry tires right about now. 5-second penalty for Chris Dong in the back there in 14th. I think that was a corner cutting, so severe penalty so far for him. And we know majority of our drivers do have quite a lot of penalties getting around to this right about now. Gaps are closing off pretty quickly. I think Chris there has the biggest gap that it is. Everyone else just a second or two off on the driver in front of them. And of course, draft here right up to the rear of the safety car, the Mercedes safety car out in front here. So yep, we are going one more lap under the safety car before we do get back racing. That's going to be into lap 27. So in the meanwhile, I think that's going. We can have a quick look at the updated standings there for the driver standings so far as what it currently is. So it looks like Clark's still leading the Drivers' Championship here for the Sunday Division with SLIPSTREAM Racing League, 152 points at the moment as we have it. Looks like, I hope this is updated standing as we do currently have, I think it is, as we currently have Robbie and Draft tied for 85 points, and of course Robbie out of this race, Draft leading the race right now. Does see where that's going to be going, so he's going to be getting up into second for the driver standings. Looks like Mikey's currently down from that in fourth, 85 points as well, so he's tied as well. Now where's Mikey running on track? He's in sixth right about now. So let's see what's going to happen. I think it's going to be between him and Draft in terms of getting onto second in the championship right about now. So let's see where they finish at the end of this race. Beefy just behind of that, 54 points, and Walker in 6, 52 points. Nick there 7, 50 points. We got Vintage 48 points in 8. We got Mr. Rage 9th with 46 points. Tyler 10th with 35 points. Points are pretty close out, so you can see it. Extremist and Maddie tying off with 24 points each. We got Paige with 23 points, 19 for Cody, 15 for Red Devil, Chris with 12. We got Chris John with 10, Neil 8, Scooby with 8. We got access to 6 there as well, and that's for top 20 drivers on the grid so far with that. And of course we do have reserve drivers in the grid points as well, so this explains why we do have it that way at the moment. The safety car is going to be in on this lap. We're about to get back racing, so let's get our screen completely free so we can get this on the way once again here. But yeah, so far so good in terms of standings that we see it. Gonna have some of those being sorted through after this race in determining where they actually finish. I gotta be honest, it doesn't look too promising with the weather on track right about now. It actually looks still a bit cloudy as we get on through this. Walker, of course, trying to get alongside that Williams as just before they get back restarted here. So let's see how that's gonna go with him as they're about ready to go back onto the start finish straight and going into lap 28 right about now on this restart. Let's see how that run down to turn 1 goes. Looks like Walker's gonna get well, actually he didn't get, but he did try to get us ahead of Drop there on that restart lap there. But he is on the soft tire, is going to have that bit more of an advantage in terms of race pace here. So definitely going to be trying to get past the Williams. And let's see how long it's actually going to take to happen at this point. He's still pushing on through. Gets past the sector so far, pushing on the inside. And looks like he's already attempting to get past here. A bit of minor contact between the two of them. No damage so far. But he does get back up into the lead. And he's going to extend the lead as much as he can. Remember, he does have a penalty at this point here. Let's switch this back over to penalties and continue from that point. 3-second penalty. He needs to be 3-second clear of Draft. Of course, does have to do one more stop in this race. Being on those soft tires there. Even those on the mediums will have to do one more stop, because I highly doubt those tires are going to take them all the way to the end of this race at this point. Draft now running second. Mr. Race still there in third. Nick running for 2/10 is where the gap is right about now. Gap out in front will extend with Walker just building a lead at the moment as much as he can. We should have DRS come online here pretty soon, and that's going to be a bit of an advantage to these guys getting through. If you remember correctly, I think it's about 2 DRS zones on the track here, so from 1 that they had on the previous year. So hopefully that's going to be a bit of an advantage getting on through some drivers here. We got Nick extremely close up to that Red Bull, looking to get an overtake done as they slip right along the track here. Walker gets fast as lap. We have Nick on the outside, Mr. Rage on the inside, and he gets it moved done before they get into the braking zone of turn 1. So he's now up to third, and that's onto a podium position. Of course, no penalties for him, no penalties for Draft Walk with a 3-second. That's looking to be top 3 finish at the moment as it is, and we're approaching the halfway point of this race. Not there as yet. Still, that's actually going to work getting on through. Looks like Beefy a 10th behind that Red Bull right about now. Mr. Rich having some problems here, not able to keep that position. Do have the Williams of NTXJ coming up alongside the AlphaTauri there as well. He's trying to get up another position if he can. He's getting a bit more interesting and I think a bit more heated as well as the track started to dry off, and we're now onto the dry tires getting on through. Definitely have a race on our hands going on now. These guys are going to push for much overtakes as they can. Looks like the Williams and NTXJ, he's getting past Beef right about now, so he's lost the position down to 6th. NTXJ up into 5th. Mikey is still running 7th here. He's still trying to get past, but not having the best of luck. Beefy fighting back for his position as he takes it around the inside. Still side by side with the Williams getting on through, and a bit of contact between them. Still pushing for this. Got the Ferrari of Mikey watching on just behind. Scooby just behind of that, along with Mazepin, followed by Energetics and Vintage and Tyler and Extremist, along with Christophs and Red Devil as well. On a bit of train coming on through, getting a bit twitchy, getting on into the next lap here. As you're still fighting for position. This is between NTXJ, BP, and Mikey. Still about 3 cars trying to fight for it. We do have Scooby in the LP and having a look on behind right about now. He's trying to see what's happening out in front of him, but he's holding off his position. Just trying to see if he can gain anything off of these guys, possibly getting a DNF here if something does go wrong at this point. Looks like NTXJ holds off into P5. Beefy down to 6, Mikey down to 7. He holds off for that. 3/10 of the gap is for him. Beefy still a 10th behind right about now. Still trying to get side by side with the Williams. He pushes on through, but he's not able to hold off on the lead right now. NTXJ still gets it back. Of course, he's about 1.7 seconds behind the Red Bull that's out in front of them. Starting to get a bit sunny out on track here right about now. That's going to help in terms of track temperature as well. And of course, with race pace as they get around here, 3/10 gap is, and it's keeping right around that range. Not dropping too much, not gaining too much at this point. Let's get back on board. Maybe just a bit have a look and see how this is actually working out. They're keeping the race line pretty clean as they get on through this. Avoids contact there. And this is not going to be an easy overtake to attempt at this point here right about now. Both of them on the mediums as well. Both the Williams and the AlphaTauri. So that's going to walk out in front. Gets the fastest lap so far. 1:19.4 race pace time. As you can see, these guys trying to keep the car behind of them. Out of that slipstream right about now. Getting down. Beefy trying to pull this around the outside of turn 1. And he's going to get it done. Looks like he does get it done actually. They're still a bit side by side as that Williams tries to come back for the move. He's still pushing through. This might end pretty badly, but no damage so far between the 2 cars as they get on through this. BP holds on to P5. NTX back down to 6. Mikey still watches on behind, along with Scooby there in the Alpine. These two once again side by side fighting through for that position. It's been quite a bit of switch between them for the past 2 laps since we gotten back a restart after that safety car went in. The Ferrari, of course, trying to come behind them still. He's trying to get past Beefy, not having much luck. Doesn't want to get in the way of those two battling out in front. Just wants to take advantage of it at this point in terms of trying to just get past. And not looking like it's going to happen right away. We have a very close gap between the trainer cars coming down behind of them as well. 3-second penalty out in front for Walker. He's now up to 6 seconds with penalties. Gap is 1.2 seconds, so that's not looking too promising for him in terms of keeping a race win here this evening. Looks like Chris is out of the session here as well. I think I just noticed that. We're down to 15 drivers remaining here for the Portuguese Grand Prix from the 20 that we started with. Getting into the next lap, that's lap 32 right about now. Just trying to see how close this actually is going to come between them. Looks like Walker out in front. He's pushed quite a bit on those set of tires. It might actually be coming to an end for him because the gap is now back under a second. And there we go. We have the Ferrari of Mikey pushing on through alongside BP. He's trying to get up into 6th right now. Looks like he actually got it done with a bit of contact though. Hopefully no damage on either cars as they get on through this. So Beefy trying to get back his position here. Let's see if he's able to get that done or not. Of course, on those mediums, not having the best of luck. The Alpine behind has on fresh soft tires still running. So I think he's going to try to use that to his advantage if he can here. Okay, so on lap 33, we definitely approached the halfway point of this race, right about another 33 lap to go here, so at least another 40 minutes or so remaining in the session as it is there right about now. So let's see how the rest of this race is going to come on through. BP is trying to hold off his position, now losing that position to Scooby and Alpine, who now gets by. Of course, those soft tires, we did expect that to actually end up happening there. Mikey all the way up into 5th as he got past NTXJ there in the Williams as well. So he's trying to keep that position up front. Let's have a quick look at that and see how that's working for him. NTXJ, of course, trying to get back in position as much as he can. Not able to do it as yet, and a bit blocked off from the Ferrari in front in terms of trying to get around the outside. Gap is extremely close between them, less than a few hundredths of a second as they continue on through this. So very close racing that we have here. Out in front, Trough there holding off the lead from Walker now, who now is back down to second. Not sure if he made a mistake or Trough just got past him because he might have weared away the tires too badly. He's trying to get back up the positions. Have a look, see what's happening with the lead of the race at this point. So Trough back up into the lead, looking to gain as much points as he can here for the championship. Walker, of course, back down to second now with a 6-second penalty. Was leading the race, he wants to get back up into that, but of course those soft tires are going to be running a short stint on this track here, and he will need to switch on over to a set of mediums possibly to get to the end, or maybe to a set of hards if he does need to. He now tries it on the inside of turn 1, gets the overtake done, back onto the racing line, so he holds up that position once again into the lead. Back down to second goes for Trough. I think he's pretty close by still, so still might try to get back that position as this race continues on through. Let's see what's going to happen with those two back down in the midfield here with Scooby, NTXJ, and BP as well in the mix here. Mike is still running 5th at the moment, 2 seconds behind Mr. Right, so let's see if he's going to be able to extend his advantage and possibly catch up to the Red Bull in front of him. Do have Beefy trying to pull it around the inside here and loses a bit of time there. Has another Alpine coming behind of him. That's Energetics. He's going to try to get past now. I'm trying to get side by side with the AlphaTauri at the moment. A bit of a slide, I think, from the Alpine of Scooby there, what we saw in terms of getting around to that next turn. He's trying to hold off that position still. Might have a bit of a disadvantage when those soft tires start to go off on him, because he will have to run a shorter stint and do a pit stop sooner than expected. We have a McLaren spun around, and that is Nick there, who was running much higher up on the field. He's trying to get back going all the way down to 12th on the grid right now. I think he's got back going there. A 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits there as well. And that's his first penalty in the race actually, so he's now down into 12th and running. Lost a lot of positions there, a lot of time. Trying to get back out in front to have a look at these two still fighting on for the lead of the race. That's between Walker and Draft. Behind them is the Red Bull Mr. Rage in third. He's running 7.3 seconds behind, of course, so has some time to catch up before he is even anywhere near these two to fight for that position. Nick out of this race, looks like he retired into the pits. Actually, no, he's not retired into the pits. This has happened on the it's happened just where the pit entry is on track itself. I'm not sure what happened to his car. We're definitely going to have some pit stops happen here maybe as we get on through it, especially those on the soft tires might be doing a pit stop. It's a full safety car. Let's see if those on the mediums are going to be doing a stop as well. Let's bring tires online and have a look what's going to happen during this full safety car that we have happening here right now. So another few laps on the safety car. I assume this is our third safety car in this session so far, as these guys get on through this. And yeah, everyone's going to be bunched back up just again because they're going to be caught up back to the car in front of them just being under the safety car. Let's see if we're going to have any pit stops though. 9 laps have been done so far on these set of tires everyone is running with since this last safety car went in. Those soft tires are going to be starting to go off just a bit. So let's see what's going to happen, if they're going to be doing a stop here or not. Looks like I think Walker's into the pits. He's on the soft, so he's going to do a stop. Let's see what a change of tires is going to be for him though, as Draft continues on out in front. He's going to continue on with the mediums that he has on right about now, so he still has to do one more stop here. We now have Walker going on to a set of medium tires here. We're on lap 36. We've got to go until lap 66, so that's at least 28, 29 laps he needs to pull off on those mediums to take it to the end of the race, if that's what the strategy is going to be there. He's now back out on track. We're still under the safety car running. He is running in 8th right now. Droff will continue to lead the race out in front. Let's see how the advantage will work. Extremist doesn't stop as well, so did Tyler there, and I think Scooby as well did, but he went onto the soft tires now. And Nick letting us know he really could not continue. I'm not sure what caused that spin with him. Might have lost the rear, or did he have contact with someone? He's on chat. He might just let us know what happened in that race there. We're down to 14 drivers here in the session. A bit of an unfortunate situation there for the McLaren, of course. Both McLarens out of this race. Both Aston Martins out of this race. We got one Haas out and one Alfa Romeo out so far. And currently, as it stands, we only have 3 drivers in the session that do not have a penalty. Let's see if they can make it all the way to lap 66 without actually gaining any sort of penalties. They're actually just finishing without a penalty. Trying to see what the situation is out in front right about now. Trough still continues on behind that safety car. And everyone's going to line back up behind them as well. Looking at the tires that we have, we can see who did a stop and who did not. Vintage now taking a stop as well. Now getting into the pits. 10 laps on his soft tires. He's now going to get onto a set of mediums and going to push as much, possibly as much as he can to the end. Let's see if he's going onto a set of mediums or not. And looks like he did go onto a set of mediums, so interesting call for him on that. Guys, on lap 37 now, still under the safety car. Hopefully we can get back racing at the end of this lap. Let's see if that's going to be the case there or not. Okay, so still under this, looks like we're about to get back racing. I didn't even pay attention much to what was happening there because I do see the safety car pulling away, so we should be good to actually go again here. So that's back into there, and we're getting back started here again. Of course, no overtaking until they get across the line. So let's see how that restart go between Trout and Mr. Ray here. 4/10 is where the gap is. Going to get a lot closer as they get into turn 1. Looks like we got Beefy and XJ fighting for a 4th position side by side through turn 1. They're having a bit of contact getting on through as well. Beefy's not letting up, and neither is the Williams, but Beefy has to hold on down behind there. And they still continue on through, just a bit side by side almost. We got both Alpines just behind each other. They are both Mercedes behind each other running. So a bit interesting situation happening on track with that. Let's see if they're going to be racing each other or not, which I assume they will at this point, getting on through the session. Remember, gaps are extremely close. Mercedes switching positions down at the back there between Extremis and Kristaps at the moment. Out in front, still a bit of a situation there with those two leading, Beefy and Walker here. Teammates, of course, now behind each other. Let's see if that's going to be an automatic switch between the two of them, because Beefy might let Walker go by to get back up to the lead. Let's see if that's going to be a willing move or not, because he could just still fight for his position here right about now. Just a key P5, doesn't want to lose time in this session right about now. Has been having some trouble with the drivers around him. He has not taken a stop on that safety car, of course. So 12 lap on his medium so far. He's going to have to push a bit further on into the race and then do a stop, go on to maybe a set of softs of a bit of an aggressive strategy, but he's possibly going to have to try to make that switch to a set of softs to go down to the end of the race. Pretty close gap between these two. They're going to do the switch going down into turn 1, which is kind of where I expected them to actually have that done. Bit of a slipstream off Walker, which what Beefy is going to get there as well as he keeps up with him going on through. Walker, of course, on much fresher tires, he should be able to get out ahead a bit faster there, and he's going to chase after NTXJ right about now, who is about 4 to 5 tenths in front of him. Going to be an interesting run here. Let's see how fast he's able to pull that overtake off, as he is on fresher tires, so should have that advantage. So Williams, of course, is going to try to hold up that position as much as he can, but Walker, of course, needs to catch back up and gain back as much positions as much as he can here, because this is going to be his advantage against Droft for the lead of this race. And because Droft did not pit on the safety car, Walker did, and Walker having that penalty situation is what's going to what was causing him a bit of I think a bit of stress at the moment there. So he's trying to gain a 6-second gap ahead here of him, and I think this is what might have just actually helped him do it, because of course Droft still has to do a stop here where he's going to get back out. When he does do the stop, I'm not sure, of course he might be waiting for another safety car before actually doing a pit stop. We'll see what's going to happen in that case there or not, but at the moment going on through, we're still following to see what's going to happen. Let's just take all the penalties off at this point here, getting on through. And there goes Walker. He goes side by side with the Williams. He now gets past. He should already be up, and he's already up into P4, trying to keep that position going on through. His teammate BP coming down just behind, 4 tenths behind the Williams as well. So he's going to try to gain the position back if he can here. And hopefully he had a bit of a slipstream run with his teammate to catch up to that Williams there. 5 tenths is where the gap is. Let's see if he's actually able to keep it there at this point. Lap 40 of 66 here for the Portuguese Grand Prix. Going very well so far, with 14 drivers remaining in the session. For 100% pace, I'll call that pretty good at this point here. Droft out front, getting a bit of a lead now, of course, against the Red Bull at 1.8 seconds. Mikey another 1.2 seconds down. Walker now 1.3 seconds behind the Ferrari. He's trying to catch up to him. See how that's going to go for him. Beefy loses about 3 tenths so far after his teammate gets by the Williams there. So he's trying to keep that gap 5 tenths and under as much as he can. Tyler down in 9, trying to keep a gap about 3 tenths that he has on energetics in the Alpine. Of course, both Alpines running 7th and 8th. Both Mercedes running 10th and 11th on grid. Let's see how that's going to work with them. They are, of course, going to be racing each other at this point in terms of getting positions here. Got both AlphaTauri still in this race, one running in 6th, one running in 4th, heading to it back into the lead if he can at this point. We'll see what's going to happen. 1.1 second as he goes down the start finish straight into lap 41 against the Ferrari in front of him, and that time is going to come down hopefully very quickly for him, as he's trying to gain the time, trying to push as much as he can on those medium tires. But of course he might have to decide, is he going to have those tires last all the way to the end of the race or not, is the question right about now, because he's pushing quite hard on them to gain these overtakes and trying to gain back positions against Droft there. But I think that's what his advantage is mostly going to be. But he does have to make sure the tires can last all the way to where he expects them to, because at this point we still got about 26 laps or so remaining in the race. So he does need to make sure they can pull that off. A set of hards, maybe those mediums might not make it. He might still have to do one more stop, or they might actually put it on through. I'm not sure where the wear level is on the set of tires that he has on there right about now. But he's pulling off through pretty well on them so far. Let's see how he continues on with this dude. Out in front, 1.7 seconds, still where the gap is. He's 8 tenths behind the Ferrari here and looking to get by. So still waiting to see how that's actually going to go between the two of them. Because Mikey there, of course, fought pretty well to get that position. I highly doubt he's going to want to let it go at this point. But still has to do a pit stop here to go onto a new set of tires pretty soon. Not sure when that's going to happen. They might be doing these stops somewhere between lap 45 and or so. We'll see what's going to happen. Anywhere between lap 45 to 50. I think they're going to try to push it maybe to lap 48. or even lap 4. I think lap 45, 46 might be an adequate time for those who went on to the mediums after the last safety car to go on to the softs and push for the final 10 to 11 laps on the softs to end off the race. We'll see if that actually final 20 laps, so I'm not sure if she's going to be able to pull that off either. So we might look at lap 50, possibly lap 50 or 52, 53 maybe, for a stop for those on the mediums. That is if they want to just do one more stop in the race. If they're pulling off 2 more stops, they're going to be stopping within the next few laps or so. But let's see what's going to happen in this case. Gap is still about 6/10 between these two here right about now as they continue fighting long for that position, getting a bit more sunny on track, so that's definitely improving the track temperature a bit. And in terms of grip level where the car's getting around here right about now, gap closing in 5/10, now down to 4/10 between them. Looks like Extremists and Energetics start to fight for that P9 position down in the back there. See what's going to happen with that as we continue. Mazepin, of course, down into 12, still in this race, surprisingly enough. Looks like a bit of a switch between Kristaps and Scooby and Extremists and Energetics for those positions down there. And that's for 7th and 9th, I believe, there so far. We got Walker now just about a 10th behind the Ferrari, going to try to use the slipstream and pull alongside him down the start finish straight. Going to try to get the advantage into the braking zone of turn 1. So still side by side they're going on. Looks like Walker gets up that position. He's back onto his racing line, keeps ahead of the Ferrari, and he's up into P3. Draft, of course, going to be at a bit of a disadvantage with the move that Walker has made of doing a pit stop on that safety car there and him not pitting. This might have just cost him the race win, but still we have quite a way to go in this race before getting off to the end. At least 23 laps more or so before we finish off. 23 and a half laps more or so to go, so still quite a bit of a time. But let's see how well these guys make it on through. Still following on with Walker though. The gap is now a second between him and Mr. Rage. As a Red Bull in front of him. I want to see how fast he's going to get by and pull that overtake off. We do have Extremists here trying to go side by side with the Alpine of Energetics for an overtake. Around the outside he goes, and does he get it on the inside of the next one? Looks like he does get the overtake done. He's up into 7. Puts the Alpine down to 8 though. He's going to try to get it back. He's only at 10th is where the gap is right about now. Goes a bit wide. That makes a bit of a mistake there. And the Alpine takes advantage, pushes it on the inside, and but still not able to get the move done. But they're still side by side, so this could end either way at this point here as they get on wrong there this. And they get around the final turn here right about now to get back onto the start finish straight. So let's see, the Alpine is going to have the slipstream advantage. He now pulls alongside the Mercedes. He's going to be a bit of a drag race getting down into turn 1. They have cars coming behind of them as well. That's the thing, that's a Mercedes. Kristaps coming behind. We have Tyler in the Red Bull as well. So he's getting a bit heated down in the back here as well, fighting for the top 10 positions. And does look like that Red Bull has some problems there, having pressure coming on from Mazepin, of course, in P11. Let's see if that's actually working out. So a bit of a switch. The Red Bull is up into 9, trying to fight it back against the Mercedes. A bit of contact between them, and almost, well, did have a bit of contact with the Haas as well. I think that was really Mazepin's fault. He did try to get up the way, but not breaking in time there. He might have suffered some minor damage on that front wing. Or maybe just a bit of scrapes, I'm not sure. We got an Alpine spun around, that's Energetics. They're having some problems. They're going to try to get back going. Both Mercedes side by side on this current lap here. Fighting for 8th and 9th on the grid. Kristaps currently out in front though with 8, and Extremists down to 9th. A bit of a switch with them. And Mazepin gets in between the Mercedes right now. He's up into 9th. Let's see if that's holding off well as we get on through this. Walker 5/10 behind Mr. H and Red Bull out in front, fighting for 2nd place on the grid. Let's see how that's going to work out for him. Let's bring tires online and have a look at what's happening on track here right now. So out in front, Draft and Walker running a bit of a different strategy here as he now gets up into 2nd. Let's have a look on that gap. So it is now 3.3 seconds towards the race leader out in front. He's now ahead of the Red Bull, going to fight for the race lead at this point here. And he's pushing quite hard on these medium tires here. So hopefully they can last up to the point that he does need them to, because I think he's going to have to do one more stop to push it all the way to the end. And I think the one more stop is going to be going onto a set of soft tires possibly to end of the race, and that's just going to give him a bit more pace. Of course, Draft here still has to do one more stop, so I think this is where the advantage comes into play. Walker doing a pretty good job though. His strategy run has been doing a stop under that last safety car. He's now fought his way back up to the 2nd place on the grid. He's now 3.5 seconds only behind Drafter. He's going to close that gap as much as he can, wearing away these tires, and I think they're going to have both end up doing a stop right around the same time, especially there's a safety car coming up pretty soon, happening anytime. I think they're going to do it during that portion of the race, and they're just going to be fighting it between the two of them. for the racing. Of course, Draft still not having a penalty, Mikey still without any penalty as well. The only two drivers on track running without penalties. So Draft still looking at a pretty good chance of getting a race win here, but Walker fought his way back up into second, so I think a pretty good race from him so far. Of course, he does have some pressure on him still. Mr. Ray still fighting back for that position there, not giving it up, as he has Mikey in the Ferrari coming behind of them as well. So still two cars for him to deal with in terms of gaining some time here, and he just lost some time. It's now down to about 4.5 seconds between him and Draft and the Williams out in front. I think we're waiting for the next round of pit stops to happen around here. We're down to just about 20.5 laps remaining in the session here. That gives it probably about 23, 24 minutes, maybe more of racing to go. Over 25 minutes of racing. We'll see how that's going to work out. At least to an average of 25 minutes of racing left, I would say. Of the session left itself. Okay, so back on board. Let's have a look at Mr. Ray. Still chasing after Walker here. He has the advantage of the slipstream not working too well, though he doesn't gain much off of that. Beef here getting up into P5 against the Ferrari here. I think he's in the pits though. That's what has happened. So Beefy's up into P5. Mikey going into the pits. What is his switch going to be? Going into a set of soft tires at this point here. Will those tires be able to make it to the end of the race? So that's going to be the question at this point. We're talking at least 19 laps on them to close off the race, so that's going to be a tough call at this point here. Probably hoping for a safety car or something to ease off the pressure on the tires of racing itself. We'll see what's going to happen. Another penalty goes towards another driver, but there are still two drivers still remaining without any penalties. And Nike there now down to 12 after doing his stop. Kristaps previously did a stop as well. Both Mercedes did a stop already. On to fresh soft tires. The rest of the grid will have to do another stop here, so let's see when that's going to happen. And looks like race leader Draft is into the pits. 22 laps done on that set of medium tires there. As he now gets into the pits, we got Mr. Ray 22 laps on his tires so far. Entex J into the pits as well behind this. So let's see what changes are about to happen here. And he's definitely going onto a set of softs here. Will Walker, of course, respond now? 11 laps only done on his medium so far. So is he going to respond to what the Williams just did and do another stop and go on to a set of soft tires as well to finish out the race? I'm not sure what his strategy is going to be, but with the amount of laps that's remaining, I would assume he would, because he's already done 11 laps on them and there's too many laps left for him to actually be able to finish a race on that set of medium tires, and he's been pushing quite hard on them, so he will have to do another stop. So will he do the stop on this current lap here? Let's have a look and see what's going to happen. Has a bit of a gap going down because the Williams is now down into 6th there after taking that stop. On a set of fresh soft tires though, so he needs to get an advantage down here. Let's see what's going to happen. Mr. Ragier, 22 laps on his set of mediums as well, might be looking to do a stop or just on this current lap here, but assume he would. Energetics, same situation going on there in P8. Let's see what's going to happen. And looks like Walker continues on out in front. I hope this is the correct call for him at this point here right now. 12 laps on that set of tires. I think he's just wearing away these tires, maybe just a bit more, because he might probably pushing as much as he can there. Has to look at that gap though towards Mr. Ray, 2.7 seconds. Is he gaining or losing time? Of course, Mr. Ray on the old tires right about now. Let's see, he's going to do a stop or not. And he's still getting through on the next lap here, so not doing a stop as yet. Back on the Walker once again. Let's see what's going to happen. Vintage into the pits right now. Mikey gets the fastest lap. So those soft tires definitely working quite well on track. We're on lap 49 of 66 at this point here. second half of the race and getting down to the ending portion of the race here. We're gonna have about 17 laps remaining right about now. 20 minutes or so of racing to go before we close off the session. Trying to have a look out in front when Walker is going to decide to take that car into the pit lane. He needs to make sure he's gaining time right about now. Troft, of course, running P5 at the moment. 3/10 is where the gap is towards Scooby in P4. Let's see if he's gaining any positions so far or not, as Walker's still running here on track. Hasn't done a stop as yet. Mr. Ray still running on his mediums as well. 24 laps done on them so far. Tyler, there are 12 laps on his mediums, and they're going to continue on with that. Draft, of course, now gaining time. He is now up into P4. I'm not sure what the pit lane time is for keep ahead here if they are to do a stop, but let's see, that's 13, that's going to be 16, 18, 19. It's a pretty close call between Draft and Walker right about now for him to get back into the lead, which I don't think he will. He might end up coming back out of the pit lane in second place, but of course, he does have all of that penalty to deal with. So it's still a bit of a situation he has going on there with all that penalties at the moment. We're on into lap 50 of 66 right about now. 16 and a half laps to go to close off this race. Let's call it 16 laps because we got Walker here about to get across the line and start off into lap 51 pretty soon. And thanks to everyone currently joining us on the stream live here for this 100% race with SLIPSTREAM Racing. Please guys, make sure you do leave a like on the stream and make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel there as well. So once again continues into the next lap. So let's have a look, see what's happening down in the midfield. In the meanwhile, looks like Drop getting fastest lap here on track so far. We're on with NTXG and Mikey here fighting for P9. And I think we got Red Devil ahead of them as well in P7, so I think that might be the position they're most likely interested in. Of course, Energetics just ahead of that. Let's see what's happening as we get on through into the next lap. Looks like the Williams having a pretty good run against the a bit of contact between them. The Williams loses the entire front wing. That's NTXJ there having that problem. We're gonna have a bit of debris on track there as well. He's not gonna have to head back to the pit lane. 2 laps done on that set of tires, so that's gonna be a wasted set there. He's gonna have to get onto a new set of tires, have a front wing change there as well when he gets into the pit lane, and it's gonna cost him quite a few positions here. So definitely having some trouble controlling that car, getting it back to the pits. We're on with Chris Thompson and Mercedes down in the back. We're chasing after Mazepin right now. Let's see how his lap is currently going. We're on lap 52 of 66 at this point here, getting down to the closing stages of this race. We got a bit of side-to-side racing going on here as Mazepin tries to hold off into P10. Doesn't want to be giving up that position at this point here. Out in front, Walker still continues on this race with 15 laps done on that set of mediums. Mr. Ray still running on his mediums, 26 laps done on them so far. Definitely worn away at this point in the race. And so is Energetics. They're still pulling on through as much as he can, but does goes to show if Mr. Rage can continue 26 laps on that set of mediums that he has on, Walker can pull off another 10 laps on his set of mediums as well. There goes Kristoff's getting their move done against Mazepin. Goes a bit wide. The both of them going wide, but he does get the position out ahead. Will he be able to hold it though? That's the case here right about now. Not sure if that was an illegal move or not. Just depends on what the game is going to advise them to do there. Well, yeah, going back to Walker out in front. 15 laps done so far. Mr. Rage doing 26 laps on the same kind of tires. So definitely shows he can go another 12 laps at least. And he might actually just be able to push these tires down to the end of the race. But of course, gap as it is right about now is with Trough there. 12.5 seconds behind Mr. Rage, who is 3.7 seconds behind Walker. That gives him a total of about 16 seconds to work with here, which is definitely not enough time to do a pit stop and get back out in front of Draft. And even if he does, the gap is going to be so close that he's still going to lose the position because of the amount of penalties that he currently has. And let's have a look back at penalties right about now as it is. So 6 seconds of penalties, with Mr. H having a 12-second penalty, Draft having a 12.3-second gap. As it stands right about now, if everything stays the way it is, we're looking at Walker still winning this race. Going to be a bit of a privilege to actually win the first Portuguese Grand Prix here on SLIPSTREAM Racing League as well. So let's see if he's actually able to pull this off, because he stands a pretty good chance if he can finish on that set of tires. But he needs to make sure that Draft, of course, doesn't gain any more time, or he needs to gain a penalty or something at this point here, because it's cutting it quite close right about now to what it is there. At the moment, what we have Draft with 11.8-second gap, and we got Mr. Rage with a 12-second penalty. That puts Draft up into second if they get across the line and finish the race right at this point here, and still ends up with Walker winning the race. So the gap is what's going to be determining what's going to happen here. Of course, Mr. Rage, though, 20-something laps on that set of tires, he might want to think about taking a stop, maybe right about now, or he might just be pushing all the way to the end of the race on those set of mediums, and Walker's going to have to hope that he doesn't take a stop, because if he takes a stop, that's going to put Draft up a position, and with a bit more of a better gap to work with as well. Let's keep on the tires and see what's happening. So far, 17 laps on Walker's tires. He's still going to keep this going on through. Gonna go back to energetics here in P7, chasing after the Ferrari of Mikey. Gap now going out of the DRS range as it goes just above a second here. So let's see how much longer they keep this going. 12.5 laps remaining in the session, not a lot left. So I think we're coming down pretty close after the end here right about now. Something's definitely happening up front, because Draft has now gained quite a bit of time. Looks like Mr. Rage might have made a bit of a mistake there, because Draft is now 1.5 seconds behind of him and looking to get up into second place in this race. Let's see if that's going to be the case or not, because this is not looking too good for Walker here in terms of keeping that race win. He qualified to start this race there in P1. Of course, Draft there started second. Mr. Rage currently a bit of a barrier between the two of them, but doesn't look like this is going to be going on for much longer here, as we still got another 10.5 laps or so to go. So I'm not sure, can Mr. Rage and Red Bull pull off another 10 laps on that set of tires? It's quite of a tough call on these mediums here, so I'm really not sure if that's going to be happening. But it does seem like it might actually end up happening, because we got Scooby pulling off 18 laps on this set of soft tires. Remember guys, it's a 100% race, so the dynamics of how many laps can be done on this set of tires changes compared to our 50%. They might actually be able to pull off about 39 to 40 laps on that set of mediums by itself. So we're trying to see if that's going to be the case happening with Mr. Raker. He needs to pull off a full 40 laps on them in terms of finishing off this race on that set. And of course, Walker needs that to happen at this point if he wants to keep his position that he currently has there. Because if Draft gets within 6 seconds of him, he is definitely losing the race win here this evening. Draft, of course, now getting alongside that Red Bull. And he's still on fresh soft tires, going 7 laps only done on them. So they got quite a lot of life left in. And he is now up into second place on the grid, 12.9 seconds behind Walker, who is now going to start to feel some severe pressure here in terms of keeping that position as it stands right now. So he might have to end up losing it, and the worst case scenario is he's going to end up finishing second on the podium here. And still would not be too bad of a finish, but provided where he started after qualifying, where he started in this race on the opening lap, I highly doubt he wants to be finishing anywhere lower than that. But if he didn't have a penalty, I think that would be the case. He would be finishing right there. 12.6 seconds is what the gap is. Has just about 10 laps and under to go in the session, and he needs to keep the gap above 6 seconds. So the worst he can lose here is a 6-second gap towards the Williams behind of him. Let's switch this back down to the Ferrari here, chasing after the Alpine of Scooby out in front of him. Now gets by as the Alpine goes a bit wide out on the side of the track, so he's up into P5. Gonna possibly try to get another position if he can here, because of course he does only have a 7-second gap towards the cars in front of him, who now has a 11-second gap towards Mr. Rich out in front of him in third. So I think Marky is trying to get onto a podium position to finish off this race, but it's going to be a bit of a tough call. Has about just under 10 laps to do this. Let's see if he's able to pull it off or not. Alright, so still 14 drivers remaining out of our total of 20. Well, made it all the way until lap 57 so far, so not a bad race overall, I would say, getting on through, because in some situations with 100% race, you might expect there only 5 drivers remaining at this point in the session. So still a pretty good job from the drivers so far. Unfortunate for those who could not finish the race, and for those who actually just retired off the session. Let's see what our closest gap currently is. Out in front, Walker and Draft. Their still P1, P2 gap is 11.1 seconds. Walker needs to hold this out and push as much as he can on those set of tires all the way to the end of lap 66 and keep a gap of 6 seconds between him and that car. Hopefully he didn't take any more penalties. Have a look right now. No more penalties taken so far, so he needs to keep it where it is. I'm seeing some 27 seconds penalties, which is quite interesting so far. So let's see how that works out at the end of this, because that's going to result in quite a few positions down in terms of finishing positions for these guys here. Gonna be a bit of a mix up with that. Only 2 drivers don't have penalties, so we're gonna let this sort on through as they get across the line on lap 66. So on lap 58 right about now, hopefully should get into the final final 5 laps pretty soon. Let's see what that final 5 laps is in the road, because they're going to push as much as they can from this point onwards in terms of gaining position. Beefy here 2 to 3 tenths behind this Alpine of Energetics and still trying to get past. Not having the best of luck at this point. You're getting through sector 2. He's trying to keep as close as a gap as he can. And now goes through on the inside. Let's see the side by side getting on through this. The Alpine goes wide. Was not forced wide, but does end up going wide. Does happen. And still side by side, the 2 of them going. Looks like Beefy does have a bit more advantage in terms of gaining the position. He gets onto the racing line, and I think he holds on through with that. Not a bad overtake for him into P7. And Energetics is now down to 8 with that as it is right now. Gap is still about 8 tenths as it is there. Gap out front between race leader and Draft, 10.2 seconds. He needs to use those softs as much as he can in the next 7 laps that we have remaining and bring that gap down under 6 seconds if he does want to take the race win away from Walker at this point. If he gets a penalty, I think it's all over for him there at that point. He will need Walker to make a severe penalty. Another 5 seconds or so, another 3 seconds or so in terms of getting that done. If Walker gets another 3-second penalty, I think that's it for in terms of race win for him. He's not going to be able to get it, because that's going to be a 9-second gap, which is already is, and just about 6 tenths more is what Draft will have to gain in terms of getting the race win. Just checking on that to see if it's reached that point or not. Doesn't look like it has at this point. Mr. H has done 33 laps along with Energetics, 33 laps on those set of mediums that I have on so far and running with. So gotta really know your tire life here in terms of strategy for a 100% race. Does get a bit interesting, as you said. We did expect quite an interesting race, which we actually did get. Qualifying was actually quite competitive with the guys getting on through some extremely competitive lap times and very good lap times that we saw. And the start of the race, not too bad. No safety car in the opening start. We had about 3 safety cars in this session so far. Lost 6 drivers from the race. We got 14 remaining to finish it off. So much like a real Formula 1 race so far, I would say, getting on through. Got a 9-10 gap with Energetics, and Beefy still trying to get into Beefy, of course, getting within 8 tenths of Scooby out in front of him. So he gets past one Alpine, has another Alpine to clear in front. Let's see how that's going for him. Got 6.5 laps remaining in the race. Walker's gap is 9.1 seconds. Has about 3 seconds to spare here, and it's starting to go down just a bit more. So he needs to be very careful of what's happening out front. Beefy, of course, still trying to get by up into P6 if he can. Finishing positions for these cars will be a bit different though with the penalty situation that we have. We're finally into lap 60. We should be entering into lap 61 pretty soon. Actually, there we go. So we're already into lap 61. So 5.5 laps left to go, or 6.5 laps, whatever it is. No, just 5.5 laps. So still following our Beefy at the moment. Just having a look at his gap, what it is. So he has one Alpine in front, one Alpine behind. Just trying to keep ahead of Energetics and trying to get ahead of Scooby right about now. Of course, both of them hopefully going to work together and try to keep him in between or possibly put him back down. Tyler just lost a position. They're trying to get away a position away from Mikey for P4. Beefy going to have a good run down that start finish straight. 2/10 is where the gap is. He's going to try to pull alongside on the inside of the braking zone to turn 1. And does actually get it done before the braking zone. So he gets another position up here ahead of both Alpines now. He's up into 6 from 8. And looks like the Alpines are switching positions down in the back there as well. Energetics now out in front of his teammate. He's going to try to catch back up to Beefy if he can. Let's see how that's going to work out. Beefy, of course, 11.2 seconds behind the Red Bull of Tyler. Not a gap that he's going to be able to break down that easily. Let's see what Tyler's gap is towards Mikey right now in the Ferrari. These two are having a bit of a go at it not too long ago, so let's see how they're keeping that going. Gap out in front, 8.4 seconds. This is getting right down to the wire, down to the end of lap 66. It's going to come down to determine who is going to take the win here for the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's looking pretty good for Walker so far. Looking pretty good for Draft as well with that gap. He needs to gain another 2.4 seconds. It's still a 6-second penalty, and it is so far. So I think Walker's going to push as much as he can in the final few laps here, final 5 laps that he has remaining, just to make sure he can keep the gap as what it is. A 2.5 second gap is what he has to work with. He needs to keep it above that and make sure it doesn't drop down. I'll keep it above 7 seconds clear just to be safe at this point here in the session. But let's see what's going to happen as we get on further down to the end of this. I think the Alpine drivers here having a pretty close gap between each other right about now. I think we're trying to have a look and see if Tyler is able to catch back up to Mikey. Doesn't look like it's the case. It's a 2-second gap now between them as they continue on in the race. And looks like that gap is extending out in front. Let's have a look at Draft at the moment here. 8.1 seconds. He's now with a 2-second time difference that he needs to take the win of this race. This is coming down pretty close. We got 3.5 laps remaining. It's getting to be a lot of pressure for Walker out in front, who I'm very afraid to actually switch on over to in case he does make a mistake whenever he's on stream. So we're trying to avoid doing that just to let him be for now. So a gap is coming and going between 7.9 to 8.1 seconds. Let's see what's going to happen by the time we get around to lap 65. Because we should be getting into lap 64 pretty soon. Where is he on track? So getting through sector 2 right about now here. I just switch that up just a bit. Let's go back down to the Alpine here. 1.6 seconds behind Beefy right about now. Still trying to chase this on through. So as we have it with a great order, Walker running P1, Draft in second, Rage in third, Mikey 4th, Tyler 5th, Beefy 6th, Energetics in 7th, Scooby in 8th, Kristaps 9th, Mazepin in 10th. Mazepin is actually still in this race, surprisingly enough. And in the top 10, who would have thought? Vintage running 11th, XJ in 12th, Red Devil 13th, Extremes in 14th. Unfortunate situation where we have Mick, Chris, Cody, Hayden, Robbie, and Maddie out of this race. That's both McLarens, both Aston Martins out. Gap down to 7.5 seconds out in front with Walker and Mr. Ridge, and they still haven't entered into, there we go, so into lap 64 right about now. That gap is definitely closing in on Walker right now. Pressure is on, coming down to the final 2 laps of this race, and he needs to keep the gap above 6 seconds. That's a 1.4 second time difference right now between them to determine who is taking the win for the race. Let's see how that's going to work out. Strategy change has been impeccable so far from the drivers, especially with those 2 out in front. Walker ran a pretty good strategy to get back into the lead. He's kept it up to this point. And he's now trying to keep a gap here to make sure he can finish P1 across the line and with a gap big enough to take the win still. I think he's going to be quite gutted if he doesn't actually get this win here. He's fought pretty well for it so far. quite deserving of the driver of the day, but of course he started P1, does actually want to finish in P1. What a position change. It looks like Scooby's gaining 11 positions so far. Of course, this is going to be a bit determined on penalty. Look at the penalty that we have on track here. Quite insane at this point. Looks like Mikey stands a good chance there of getting up into a podium position. Has a 7:10 gap to clear in terms of doing that in the next lap and a half that we have remaining here for him. Hopefully he's able to get that done. We'll see what's going to happen as we get on through. 7.1 seconds is what the gap is out in front with those two at the moment there. And we're going to keep penalties on. We're into lap 65 and we're on with draft here at the moment. 7 seconds is what it's down to. It's precisely about 1 second that separates these two and determines who actually wins the race. Getting quite intense between the two of them. So I think it's been quite an exciting race at this point, especially with this one we got going on. Just to determine who's going to win. It's a 1 second gap. It's going back up to 7.1, just coming and going a bit. And I think Walker's going to have to keep this up for another lap and a half. And he's probably dying out front there, just hoping that this race is over so he can take our win here. Has not been an easy race for him. Maybe he takes another penalty, of course, and he's out of the race. What has happened? I think he retired into the pits, maybe? I'm not sure. It looks like he has retired into the pits, so he's out. His team is still leading, looking for a potential win. Gap down to 6.6 seconds, and we're working with a 7/10 gap now. So not looking too well here. We're still on lap 65 at this point. We're going to get into the final lap of this race pretty soon. Walker needs to keep this going and needs to keep that gap at least about 6.5 seconds clear, just to keep it going, and he needs to avoid getting any more penalties. One more penalty and that's it for him in terms of getting a race win. He's going to be down into second as they go into the final lap here right now of the Portuguese Grand Prix. First ever one that we're having here on the channel, first ever Portuguese GP for Slipstream Racing League here as well. Gap is 6.5 seconds as he get on through this one. Keep on Walker as he goes through the final lap. He hopefully is going to be able to keep this and get away with a race win this evening. Draft, of course, hoping that he can just get away with that 5:10 gap. Surprisingly enough, neither of them making any mistakes here right now. Walker needs to be very careful on the final 2 sectors of the track, which is currently on here. Already into sector 2, getting a gap down to 6.2 seconds. This is going to cut it quite close as they get down to the end of it. Literally a 2:10 gap separating. Oh man, and he's coming into a 6.1 second gap. He might actually end up losing this if he does not able to keep this up. I think Droft is possibly putting everything he has into that car right about now. Into the final sector they're going at the moment. Extreme is going to move up into 13th, I guess, when this is over here. And hoping for Walker right about now. So qualified P1 on the grid. He has a 1:10 gap between him and the Williams behind as he is now getting back onto the start finish rate. Hopefully that bit of a straight line speed is going to gain him and keep him at 1/10 as he gets across the line. He takes the win, of course, for the Portuguese Grand Prix. A pretty good fight between them. 1/10 is literally what separated two of them. Draft getting across the line with a 2/10 separation time between them as he gets across, but he takes second place on the podium. So quite an incredible battle between those two for the race win itself. Mr. Rage about to get across the line. Does he take the third place on the podium? Doesn't look like he will. Mikey gets across with an 11.6 second gap. So if this keeps up as he gets across the line, he should be able to take away the podium position away from Mr. Rage here, and does actually do that. So the Ferrari is up into third, the Red Bull of Mr. Rage down to fourth. Then we got Tyler to get across the line. We got a switch going to happen with penalties, maybe for some of them. So he takes fifth so far. Energetic is getting across. He should be able to take... Actually, no, he's not going to be able to take 6. He's going to get across the line. But Kristaps will take that position away either way here as he gets across the line. P6 will hold that position. And Energetic's taking 7. We do have Scooby coming across the line to take 8th place in this race. Bit of a gap between him and Mazepin though, and with a penalty as well. So will that change? I don't think it might. Well, waiting for Mazepin to get across does change the position. He's up into 8. Scooby down to 9. Vintage coming around right now. He should be able to take 10th place. And Entex J taking 11th. Red Devil and Beefy out of this race on the final portions there. And Extremist should be able to move up a position. Hopefully we'll see what the final preliminary results hold for this session here, but not a bad race. Extremely competitive and ran quite well. Scooby gets driver of the day, and yeah, ran quite well between Walker and Draft out in front for that race win, coming down to the final lap, separated by just about 2/10 as they got across the line. So there we go, guys. Race win for the first official Portuguese Grand Prix here with SLIPSTREAM Racing League, and the first one here on IG8Live Esports. Race win goes to Walker on that one there in the AlphaTauri. Of course, Draft gets across the line second, separated by 2 tenths between the two of them. And yep, he gets the fastest lap for the session as well, so not a bad finish for him. Pretty good fight between the two of them. Mikey takes third place on the podium away from Mr. Rage in the Red Bull, who has to take fourth place on the grid just because of a penalty there. Tyler there finishes 5th across the line, takes that. Christoph takes 6th on the grid. Energetics will take 7. Vintage taking 8. Mazepin finishes with 9. Scooby finishes 10, gets driver of the day. And I think that was it for drivers who finished the race. I think Extremely's got across the line, but on 14th. Entex here was 11. Red Devil 12. Beefy 13. He didn't get the finish either. And Extremely's there in 14th as it was. Then having a look at the rest of the grid that did not finish the session as well. Nick there 15, Chris in 16, Cody, Hayden, Robbie, and Maddie there. That was for the 20 drivers on the grid. So still on. Oh, welcome to Holly on the stream a bit later on. Yeah, but yep, that was quite an interesting session for a 100% race. I haven't done one of these in quite a while. It's a bit demanding sitting here commentating for a full 100% race, getting on through the session. True when usually we do the full qualifying, and 50% you have kind of breaks between sessions as you get on through, but still was a lot of fun doing it. So a lot of interesting battles through that session itself, and hopefully we can have a few more that's going to happen with all the other new tracks being added to the game here for SLIPSTREAM Racing League here on IG8Live Esports. So far so good as we have it. Thanks to Wildfly for joining on. Hopefully everyone left a like on the stream. Remember to subscribe to the channel, guys, if you are new around here. Remember the stream is still live on the YouTube channel, on Facebook, and on Twitch as well, because I know some of you do watch on that as well. So yes, that was an interesting 66 laps at Portugal. Looking forward to the next session, which I'm not even sure where it's going to be. I think it's going to be at Bahrain for round 12. So going to be under the lights for a night race here. I'm going to be quite interesting one. I quite enjoy watching races at Bahrain and driving there myself. So looking forward to that. Thanks again to all the drivers in the session for holding out through a 100% race. For a majority of them that held out through. 14 finishing, well, almost finishing as well, but still quite an interesting session. I'll see you guys on the next stream, which should be on Tuesday here at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be about 9:30 British time. So I'll see you guys for the next session there at LNR Esports. Thanks for joining on the session, guys, and that's going to be it for this evening.